Hey everybody. Hi. Hi. Welcome to this episode of Coach Cara's podcast, Itchy, Bitchy and Guests. However, there are no guests today, it's just me and managing stress. Firstly, I have a new t-shirt. Don't know if you can see that, look. CrossFit Community Cup, very lovely. Literally doing him for a t-shirt. Used to be medals like when I used to run and stuff, but nah, much love a t-shirt. Also, I've got my washing out and it's just decided to start raining. There's like spittering on the windows, so I'm just going to ignore that. Right, today's topic is managing stress, right? And the reason that I want to speak about that is because stress in midlife, stress at any time, right? But stress in midlife can be more difficult to manage because we can have ourselves and tie ourselves in knots just trying to do stuff for everybody else, right? So combined with, right, we've maybe got a busy household, just all the usual stuff that comes with midlife, all right? We've got a busy household, we've got a marriage, we've got kids, we've got possibly elderly parents, you've got work, you've maybe been promoted at work, etc., all right? And we're never going to limit the stress that comes into our life, so it is only up to us to manage it. Like, there's always going to be some clown out there that adds to the stress in your life, all right? There's always going to be some dickhead that brings their drama, etc., right? And you can't really control that. Like, we need stress in our life, so we need adrenaline and we need cortisol, but it needs to be not consistent. So consistently being stressed and our body in a consistent state of fight or flight, right, will do you no good whatsoever, especially midlife, especially women. It does all manner of things to our bodies and our brains. So this is me just saying you need to manage your stress and you need to put things in place to manage your stress. You need to put healthy things in place to manage your stress, because the way some of us manage our stress is not actually ideal and causes more stress, all right? So, this is one of the most misunderstood and most common struggles in midlife: stress. And it's misunderstood quite often because you automatically assume that if you're not in a high level stressful situation that you're actually okay, whereas in fact continual low level stress can do your body just as much damage as one-off or probably more actually than one-off situations, all right? So if you're constantly feeling wired, like you're living on your actual nerves, you're totally jangling, you can't sit still without your leg twitching, all right? You're also constantly feeling tired, no matter how much sleep you get, or whether you nap, or whether you don't, you constantly feel tired, all right? You're feeling overwhelmed more often than not. Or you're just like one comment away from actually chucking a table at somebody or punching somebody in the face, then that's not good, all right? This podcast is absolutely for you, 100%. So we're going to look into what it's doing to your body, what it's doing to your mind, what it's doing to your waistline. Now, that can be a bit of a shocker for some women, but when we are stressed, our body stores fat around our waist. True fucking story, by the way. Scientific true story, not just even making that up. Right, and more importantly, I'd like you to take back control. So we're going to try and cover that as well, right? But it's not your age. And you don't have to accept it. And you don't have to wear your, oh my God, I'm so stressed, as a fucking badge, all right? Nobody's going to reward you when you're in an early grave. So we want you to manage it and be on this planet for as long as we can. All right, so we've got chronic overwhelm and acute stress. So, like I said at the beginning, the constant low level of stress can actually do you more damage than being in a stressful situation every now and again, right? When we're in a stressful situation every now and again, we can just it just comes to an end. We can get rid of it. We can stop it. All right. It's this constant low level of stress, constant overwhelm, constantly feeling like we're getting pulled in 50 different directions at once, and constantly like not being able to say no. Like I said at the beginning, all right, this is we can't control the amount of clowns and dickheads that bring stress into our life. Or just the amount of normal people that bring stress into our life, but we can control how we react to it, and it's only us that can set our boundaries, it's only us that can stick to our boundaries, and it's only us that can control how we react to stressful situations or stressful people. So this is what we're going to work on, all right? Symptoms that we ignore, right? So stress can manifest itself in very different ways, and it's for different people, all right? I've had hives before because I was stressed. I didn't realise it was hives. I actually thought I was going to die because I couldn't breathe and I had lumps all over my body. Anyway, went to A&E and it was stress. And when I look back, then yeah, not the best. All right. But there was other signs before that and I'd obviously just ignored them. Why wouldn't I ignore them? Because obviously I thought I was fucking awesome and I could fix it. Couldn't I? All right. So you can get a lot of gut issues when you're stressed, all right? It manifests itself down there. It can make it difficult to go to the toilet. You can have constipation, you can have diarrhea, the exact opposite. You can have gurgly tummies, you can have stomach pains, etc., etc., all right? Low libido, right? Let's face it, nobody wants low libido, all right? Absolutely not. But if you're not feeling your best and you constantly feel like you're fighting people constantly or situations constantly, the last thing you want to do is like take your clothes off and have sexy time. Do you know what I mean? I mean, it's really difficult. So managing your stress as well. Constant irritability. Also this. So if you obviously it's a sign of the menopause. If you've not seen my Instagram post today or my Facebook post, right, you should go and have a look at it. Personally, I think it's fucking hilarious. I'm sure I've offended some people. I've already had one message saying that's a bit shocking, and I'm like, well, is it? Is it really? It's a bit of fun. Do you know? Where's your sense of humour? Maybe you're stressed because you've lost your sense of humour. Anyway, constant irritability. So, do you know, if you find yourself snapping at people constantly, like what to poke them in the eyes, what to punch them in the throat, what to hit them in the face with a chair a couple of times, then probably you're stressed. Because, like, not everybody can be a dickhead. Like the chances of only people in your life being dickheads, right, and deserving your rage, it's probably not the way it should be, right? It's probably more than likely you. And being aware of that is really difficult, right? I did go through a wee phase that I just wanted to literally punch everybody in the face. Like, I didn't like anybody. Everybody was annoying me. Everybody was a dickhead. Everybody was stupid, right? Where in fact, were they? No, of course they weren't. My tolerance levels were actually in the gutter. Just be aware of that, all right? Cortisol and hormones, all right? So scientifically, when our body is stressed, we release adrenaline and cortisol, all right? And this is the fight or flight. So fight or flight. So back in the olden days, or the medieval days, when there was a lion coming towards you, obviously you could stay and fight it, or you could run away, right? If we didn't have the fight or flight thing, can't think of the word. If we didn't have the fight or flight in our body, we'd be fucking dead. Literally, all right, because you would just decide to fight the lion, and chances are the lion's going to win. Right, so the chances of walking up the main street in Falkirk and a lion coming out is pretty slim, let's face it. But your body can actually, and your brain can actually determine what the stressful situation is. So it doesn't actually know whether it's a lion or not. It could just be a constant stressful situation, like a rough relationship or work stress, etc., etc. So it's going to release cortisol and it's going to release adrenaline to keep you safe, all right? But with all hormones, we have a level of our hormones, if you can see me on the screen, if you're watching on YouTube or my Facebook Live, all right? We have a level of hormones. So when we're stressed, our cortisol and our adrenaline go up here, right? And that's cool, providing they come back down here. That's quite normal. This is what happens with all our hormones. Our hunger hormone, the hormone that tells us when we're full, all right? They all go up and down, and that's fine, but we need them to come back to level for us not to be in a constant state of stress, all right? So if your cortisol is released and it's up here, and it stays up here because you're consistently in a situation of stress, whether it's work, relationships, whatever, right? You're fucked. pretty much, all right? This is when it starts to get serious, when it's constantly up here, because then it starts to affect things like the blood that's going around your body. It affects the way your heart works. It affects whether you eat or not. It affects whether you sleep or not. It affects whether you develop a dependency on alcohol or drugs. Anything that you think is going to help manage your stress that involves adding something into your body, something not illegal, but something bad into your body, like a toxin, right, is not a fucking good idea. But when we think about like managing our stress and it's like, oh my God, I'm just going to sit and drink a bottle of wine. You're not managing your stress. It'll manage it for 10 minutes or half an hour because you're not thinking about the thing that's doing your nut in, because all you're doing is thinking about drinking that wine. But when that wine gets into your body, like one night or 2 nights or 3 nights or 4 nights a week, right, that all that's doing is releasing more cortisol, and it's just topping your levels back up to here. So your hormones are still a bit fucked. Yes, I know, I'm very good at explaining scientific things. So it's not really, it's that constant state that we don't want to be in. We need the hormones to come back down, and the only way you'll do that is by managing the stress in a healthy manner, all right? Stress and weight gain, especially around the middle, it is very, very common for people that are stressed to be overweight or to put weight on. Right now, we all know, because you all listen to me, that the perimenopause does not cause weight gain, all right? But your lifestyle around the time of the perimenopause may cause weight gain. And I'm not just speaking about moving less and eating more, right, and having sugar addictions and trying to live on Haribo and eating more takeaways because you cannot be fucked. I'm speaking about things like the way you manage your stress. Like if you are managing your stress by sitting on the sofa and drinking a bottle of wine, right, that is obviously going to increase your calories. If it's going to increase your calories, it's going to put you into a calorie surplus, you're going to gain weight. Of course you are, right? But even if you are not massively dependent on alcohol or whatever, right, when cortisol's released, it forces our body to store fat, and it's usually around the middle area, which is why you might find you've got an expanding waistband. Yeah, so it actually, if you want to just be a bit black and white about it and not grey, right, stress can cause you to gain body fat, especially around your waistline, all right? Stress, and so one of the things we can do to manage stress is, and I have been guilty of this in the past as well, it's that whole self-sabotage thing, right? So you use a crutch basically to stop you thinking, and it's the same as the wine, all right? If drinking alcohol is not your thing, but eating shitty food is your thing, then yes, this will happen as well, is that you can't be arse cooking, you do really want to look after yourself, you just want something quick and easy to eat, and you also want something very carby and very sugary, predominantly processed food and predominantly takeaways. So I did for a year self-medicated with a pizza, usually a takeaway pizza, and a bottle of wine, and that was literally my dinner for a year. That was when I split up with my first husband and I was living on my own. Probably should have went to a counsellor, would have been a hell of a lot cheaper, would have been a hell of a lot better for me on my waistline, but I got there in the end. But because you feel quite numb, which is another sign of stress, all right, because there's so much going on in your brain, or because you're worried about something, or because you're in a situation and it either doesn't cross your mind to get out of that situation, or you don't know how to get out of that situation, we do what we can to stop ourselves thinking about it. And when we're eating food, especially tasty food that releases dopamine, i.e. highly processed takeaway foods, all right, it stops us thinking about the thing that's stressing us out. And that's why we comfort eat, we self-sabotage, because it stops us thinking about the thing that's stressing us out. And if we're not thinking about it, therefore we don't need to do anything about it. Therefore we're lulling ourselves into a false sense of security that we're actually in control of the situation, and we're not. We're absolutely not. And the long-term damage that comes from that can be absolutely shocking. I'm not expecting you to cut out all takeaways, by the way, just before anybody thinks that I am, all right? There is nothing wrong with takeaways. As with everything, it's about balance and it's about moderation. So if you're having one takeaway a week, fucking knock yourself out, all right? There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. I'm speaking about consistently. So consistently overeating highly processed food, consistently drinking and abusing alcohol. I'm speaking about consistently, all right? Not every now and again. Absolutely fine. Knock yourself out, all right? Also, when we are stressed, it can sometimes lead to burnout, right? So this is when your fatigue kicks in. Sorry, forgot the word there. This is when your fatigue kicks in, right? So it's a bit like overwhelm. You're that overwhelmed, right? And you're that burnt out that you literally cannot make another decision. So you just sit on the sofa and do fuck all. Right? And it's understandable. Again, I have been there, absolutely. It is understandable because your brain literally cannot compute the action that it needs to make that decision. So you just do nothing, right? Whereas in fact, doing nothing is actually a choice, right? But it can quite often, people can quite often assume that you're lazy, right? Because all you can literally think about is sitting on the sofa or staying in your bed till 11 o'clock in the morning. You know my thoughts on that, all right? So if you are burnt out and if you're not managing your stress in a healthy manner, is it any fucking surprise that your brain and your body is telling you to stay in your bed till 11 o'clock during the weekend, or to sit on the sofa every night and scroll through Instagram because you have zero energy and zero brain power to actually be able to make a decision to move your arse? No, of course it's not. It's like, of course it's not. It's not normal, but it's fucking understandable, which is why until you learn to manage that stress, everything is just going to escalate and it's just going to like get added on, get added on, get added on. You're going to move less, right? You're going to make less decisions. You're going to move less. You're going to eat shittier food because you can't be arsed looking after yourself. You can't be arsed, right? And then you're going to get the weight gain, and then the self-loathing's going to come on, and then the self-doubt because you don't understand how you can actually get out this vicious circle. You can get out the vicious circle, by the way. It's hard, absolutely. But so is spending another 10 years refusing to manage the situation that you're in and refusing to manage the stress that you're in, and getting less and less happy with how you look in the mirror, or getting less and less happy with the rage that you've got going on, or the fact that you don't want to socialise, right? It's not normal. It's absolutely not normal, but your brain will begin to believe that it's normal because it's too difficult to fight it. Please try and manage your stress before you get into this situation. All right? So, how to manage your stress, right? Healthy habits are starting with, right? And these are in no particular order, but they will all help, all right? Sorting your sleep out will make you feel like there's less straws that are going to break the camel's backs, all right? Now, we all know the straw that breaks the camel's back, right, is usually something minute, right? You will be dealing with massive things. I can't think of anything, right? Just say you're running the country. Just say we're prime ministers, right? We're actually fucking running the country, right? So we're fighting off wars, we're keeping everybody talking, nobody's dying, it's all fucking cool, right? And the straw that breaks the camel's back will be the fact that your secretary put 2 sugars in your coffee instead of 1, all right? It's the little things. So we need to manage the big things, and that helps us manage the little things, or manage the little things, manage the big things, all right? But sleep, the more you sleep, if you can get your 7 to 9 hours of good quality sleep, ditch your phones, do your pre-bed routine, have a shower before you go to bed, read in bed, manage your stress, put your fucking phone away, put the wine away, right? If you can get a decent night's sleep, it makes dealing with things that are annoying us, or dealing with things that are wrong, that we shouldn't be in this situation, much easier. But a lot of the things that we use to manage stress, alcohol, nicotine, food, highly processed food, will actually disrupt your sleep, and then you're on a vicious cycle. So try and sort your sleep out, all right? Go for a walk, get outside. I'm not asking you to, if you don't train just now, I'm not asking you to go and start doing CrossFit 7 days a week or High Rocks 7 days a week, right? Just go for a walk, get out in the fresh air, try and put your fucking phone away. See people that they're walking through a park and they're on their phone, does me nothing. Absolutely does me nothing, right? Put your phone away, get away from everybody. The world is not going to end, right? You are not that important that somebody needs to get a hold of you every 10 minutes. You can put your phone away for 10, 15, 20 minutes while you're having a chat. Trust me, all right? Get your phone away, get out for a walk. If you feel like a dickhead walking around the park on your own, just walk around the streets, right? You could just kid on, you're going somewhere. Nobody knows, nobody cares. It'll feel a bit strange at first, but you'll get used to it, absolutely. So go for a walk, all right? If music's your thing, listen to music. Movement, if that's your thing, go and do yoga, right? If you don't want to go to a class, go and put YouTube on your television. There literally is no excuse to do exercise these days because there's so many things. There's so many different platforms. There's so much free stuff. Joe Wicks, right? His voice is really annoying, but he knows his shit. Put him on, mute him, but do the exercises, right? There is so many things. And I'm speaking about 10 minutes. Like literally 10 minutes of your life. You don't need to go for an hour, just 10 minutes. Do some exercise, all right? Setting boundaries, right? Setting boundaries without guilt. Two different things. I understand that, all right? Because setting boundaries, in theory, if we don't tell anybody what our boundaries are, I'm going to say no to the next person that asks me to do something. And if you don't tell anybody that, those words don't actually come out your mouth. You're going to actually struggle, all right? So you need to practice saying no to get the not guilt, all right? So practice that as well, all right? And again, I say it all the time as well, right? But putting yourself first and putting yourself first and looking after yourself is not to the detriment of everybody else. So if you're putting yourself first, you don't have to be cunty to everybody else. Do you know, it's just allowing you to look after everybody else without resentment because you're managing to look after yourself first, all right? Setting boundaries and saying no are really difficult, but just practice. It's just like everything. It's just a new habit that you haven't learned yet, and it will happen. So try that, all right? Pick something to work on. What we want to do is get you some stress management habits, right, that are actually habits that you can eventually do without thinking about. So pick one. Did you try and sort your sleep out, stop drinking wine, cut out the processed food, manage your sleep, get your exercise in, go for a walk and say no? Didn't you be trying to do that all at once, right? You'll just totally tip yourself over the edge and achieve hee-haw. So pick one of them. Pick one, pick one, pick one. Yeah? Finally, give yourself permission to rest and to take some time off. So rest and reset, the midlife reset. Did you see how I constantly dropped that in there? So all this week I am doing podcasts for the mini midlife reset, which is my free Facebook 7 days of coaching. All right. So today's topic is stress management. I'm doing them as podcasts as well so that I can share them with the world. Or for anybody that wants to listen to me. I'm not that arrogant that I think the world's listening. Right, so finally, give yourself permission to rest and reset. Most of our problems come from not giving ourselves permission. We do not think that it's acceptable to take time off. We do not think that it's acceptable to put our phones away. We do not think that it's acceptable to not be contactable 24 hours a day because we feel that we're going to be judged. Whereas in fact, you actually need to give zero fucks. If you take 10 minutes away from your phone and that's going to give you enough time to reset and be ready to go again to help everybody else, how can that be a bad thing? Like literally, how can that be a bad thing? It can't be a bad thing, all right? So, if you feel like you've got the weight of the world on your shoulders, right, or just the entire household and all your own expectations, I hope today's chat has reminded you. You don't have to hustle through it, all right? You do not need to put your head down, arse in the air and burrow your way through it. You do not need to wear it like a badge of honour. It is okay. Stress in your body is a signal. It is not a weakness, all right? It is a signal that you need to do something differently to improve your health and to manage it. It doesn't mean you're a weak-assed fucking bitch, all right? If you don't ask for help and you sink, that's a weak-assed bitch, all right? Ask for help. Put yourself first, all right? Self-respect. You deserve to feel calm. You deserve calm. You deserve space. And you deserve to feel like you. So whatever's been happening in your life, please take it from somebody that knows a stressful situation will nearly fucking kill you if it doesn't kill you. It's not worth it, my lovelies. Pick one of those topics today, please, and work on them. Bye-bye.